And I am grateful to the Parapsychological Association for this opportunity. I want to begin with this biblical quote. This quote reminds us that sometimes what seems unimportant or weak can actually reveal deeper trust and challenge our understanding. It's a lesson that even the humblest things can carry great wisdom, and that the strength isn't always found where we expected it. In science, as in life, we would stay open to new ideas, no matter where they come from, because they can push us to rethink what we thought we knew. In this brief presentation, I will cover the following points. 1, why we need new ways to measure psi. 2, the logic behind a new statistical coefficient I have developed. 3, the fundamental equations. And 4, an example of its theoretical distributions. This new coefficient is called C factor, or CF for short. Some might wonder why a new statistical coefficient is needed to measure psi, especially if scientific materialism is supposedly in decline. If materialism is considered irrelevant to consciousness studies, then what's the point of my presentation? No? If we dismiss materialism, we also dismiss objective measurement. However, without objectivity, how can we know if a phenomenon is real? To move beyond opinion and subjectivity, we need to rethink how we measure anomalous cognitions. Measuring based on chance is useful, but limited. Just because an effect deviates from what we would expect by chance doesn't tell us what kind of phenomenon we are dealing with or how it works. For example, concluding that precognition is real based on a comparison of observed and expected data can be misleading, especially if the expectation is based on chance alone. So how do we interpret randomness to gain more insights into the phenomenon we are studying? We have alternative statistical models such as signal detection theory or Bayesian inference. However, Bayesian methods can introduce biases if prior distributions aren't properly balanced. This could increase the likelihood of errors in cognitive experiments involving memory. We have markers and verification protocols, but in anomalous cognitions, we lack such markers. Then, how can we identify possible external factors without objective indicators? It's important to distinguish between the research aimed at results and research aimed at processes. Results tell us how often a phenomenon occurs, while processes research tries to explain the cause of the phenomenon. Ideally, we would be able to verify when anomalous cognition occurs under conditions that allows us to understand the process. If chance alone doesn't allow us to validate anomalous cognitions, and alternative methods don't provide sufficient information or sufficient measurement validity, it is understandable that many in the scientific community remain skeptical of parapsychology. At least that is my point. Some say we don't need more evidence for psi, just new reasons to believe in it. And I must say that I disagree with this statement. Okay? As St. Augustine of Hippo, the pre-scholastic theologian, said, "For those who want to believe, I have 1,000 reasons. For those who don't want to believe, I have none." This statement highlights a simple truth. Beliefs will always find ways to justify themselves. Yeah. Any reason can be enough to support a personal belief. Instead of trying to convince others using arguments or reasons, we should focus on providing better evidence and more accurate measurement models. That's the way, or that is my research line. In classical measurements, and the classical measurement method, Reliability comes from isolating measurement errors, and validity comes from meeting certain mathematical principles. But applying this logic to anomalous cognitions is challenging because we lack a well-defined conceptual framework. This is where item response theory, IRT, comes in. IRT offers an alternative to classical test theory by focusing on how individual differences affect measurement. IRT has three key properties: parameter invariance, meaning the characteristics of items remain consistent across different samples; trait-dependent precision, which allows for more accurate differentiation of abilities; and C, model fit indicators per item, which assess how well the model fits the data. These properties make IRT a valuable tool for analyzing cognitive phenomena, including anomalous cognition. My new statistical coefficient for measuring anomalous cognition is based on the three-parameter logistic model in IRT. The model uses three parameters: A, discrimination; B, difficulty; and C, pseudo-guessing. Especially, the C parameters indicates how likely an individual is to respond correctly to each trial or item when they have scored low overall. Understanding this is crucial, as you will see in the next slide. The Greek letter theta represents the true total scores. So the actual presence of psychic abilities will be determined by the theta scores. These scores are estimated from the analysis of observed data using the maximum likelihood method. Well, other parameters are usually estimated using this method as well. Although we lack empirical markers for psychic abilities, we can still apply logical principles. Based on IRT monotonic principles and the remaining of the meaning of the C parameter, we can outline two types of scenarios. The first scenario, this one. In the first scenario, the individual can get correct answers on the items, letter A, even with low theta scores, as you can see here. Oh, pointer. Thanks. As you can see here, at least in this mathematical expression. In the second scenario, that one, the individual can get correct answers on the items, letter A, with non-low theta scores. And you have the mathematical expression right there. For the first one, so in this case, we can say that the likelihood of the individual having psychic abilities is very low, as the correct answers would be explained by guessing, not psi. When this happens, the C parameter is very high. In the other case, for the second scenario, we can say that the likelihood of the individual having psychic abilities is very high, as the correct answers would be due to the presence of that ability. This ability is estimated using theta scores, and that's the key of the coefficient. Logically, if we switch the scenarios, we would be talking about the error probabilities represented with letter E, so here. But I'm going to focus on both previous scenarios, this, as I have explained it. Well, now let's talk about how to apply CF coefficient. Think of it like a Matryoshka doll, where one formula fits inside another. To use thanks God. God loved me. Oh. We have peace now. He's playing with me. These are not an example of my psychic abilities, right? No. Well, as I said, to use the CF, oh, come on. So I have to continue, and I will try to do my best, sorry. To use the CF, we need the C values to be in probability metrics, which we can achieve using software or by applying a mathematical transformation. The mathematical transformation I used was to set the C parameters as a negative exponent of the rational number E, as you can see here. It's crucial that the C values are negative or are negative for logistic transformation to work properly. If a C parameter is negative, that's fine. But if the sign of C is positive, we will need to make this correction. The CF coefficients can be applied at 3 levels: individual trials, individual cases, and groups. Or we are working with independent sample sets. In this slide, you can see the CF formulas for individual trials. Here, the CF help analyze whether anomalous cognition was activated during a specific trial. So this is the simplest CF equations, which let us analyze the response process for each trial. So here you can see the equations at individual level. And maybe these formulas could be the most important ones. Note less that the denominator uses the geometric mean for all C values. This is the geometric mean. Correct answers exceed the threshold by chance. The individual likely relied on random guessing. So that is the utility, usefulness of these new coefficients. Okay. This would let us rule out the individual as having true psychic talent. So that is the innovation part. Well, to finish my presentation, I want to share with you some conclusions and interpretations. The math and logic behind the CF coefficients led us to measure the activation of cognitive abilities, including psi, showing how much they influenced fully randomized experiments. CFs are innovative and could be a new source of evidence for psi, giving this field more scientific value. I would like to point out that CF10 measures based on minimums, requiring a small C values, in contrast of CF01 uses a maximum-based logic. So that is the difference between one formula and the other one. So the second one should be more demanding than the first one, and requires a much higher C values. So to finish my talk, my team and I tested CFs on real data, measuring intelligence and other brain abilities. So this is just the theoretical part, but we are working and we go forward applying these coefficients with real data. And the first results were good, at least good, satisfactory, with CFs matching the intelligence data from 82 to 95%. So that means that CFs reproduce the raw data of trials and individual scores between 82 and 95% of accuracy. So that is not bad. And also we have used CFs on data from psi experiments. Yes. And the results were positive too. So the first evidence that we are trying to use and to obtain is promising, or is esperanzadora, hopeful. And here, what you see here was just a preview, no? Or just a little piece of the full work that we are trying to do. I don't need to say it, but I would love to collaborate with other scientists interested in this work. And if there is any interested on that, please feel free to contact me, or to write me an email, or feel free, to ask me what you want. Thank you for your attention and time.